The facts, dates, and events presented in this video are from the members' best recollection and may not be fully accurate. This video is intended for entertainment purposes only. Always consult with your local union about your rights and duties at your workplace. The opinions shared on this video are our own and do not necessarily represent my employer's positions, strategies, or opinions. All views shared are protected under the National Labor Relations Act.
Hey, brothers and sisters, welcome to the next episode of the Biweekly Grievance. I'm your host, Dan Arlen. Today I have a fun idea. I'm trying to come up with a way to simplify how a union either starts or rebuilds or overcomes apathy. They all lead to the same calculations. Today I have a couple of coaches and young men from East Longmeadow's 2023 Pee Wee football team who just appeared in the Super Bowl for their division. They had a phenomenal season. And as I looked back at their season, I started seeing a lot of correlations between that and being in a union. Ask me why. Well, it's simple. Being in a union, just like Sean O'Brien stated during the UPS contract campaign, is a team sport. It is not a spectator sport. If you're a union member who's not involved, either because of apathy or because your life's too busy, you probably think your union doesn't have much power or doesn't have much sway. But you look around at some of the more progressive locals where members are involved, they don't put up with half the stuff that other locals do. And what I mean by that is, how do you fix a local that has apathy and the members aren't engaged? Well, it's as simple as using this Pee Wee team as an example. They came together August 1st of this year, and they were a bunch of individuals with very little skill or knowledge about being on a football team or how to play the sport, similar to somebody being hired at their first union job and not understanding how to be a union member and how that works. This team, over the course of August, when it was all practice, no play, they learned to work as a cohesive unit. They were given the fundamentals. They started to learn to rely on one another, commitment, making time for the team. And, their first couple of games, they stumbled a little bit. They started the season off 1-2, and then it clicked, right? They realized that relying on each other, counting on one another, working as a cohesive unit, learning their skill, learning their craft, they got better and better and better. And they have overcame some quality teams because they worked better. They even made it to the playoffs. They ended their season 6-2, became the number 2 seed for the playoffs, got a first round bye, and their playoff game was against a team that had beaten them earlier in the season. And at that age, knowing that somebody already beat you is a hard thing to overcome. But between the coach's guidance, which would be like your union leadership, and the fellow teammates, they stuck together. They came out, they scored early, they set the pace of the game, and they overcame a team that had beaten them previously in the season. They made it into the Super Bowl, and although it was not a favorable outcome for them, they fought hard all the way to the end. And I don't mean to oversimplify it, but this is a prime example on how a union should work. You join a union, or you get a job or a union, or even if you've been a member for 10 years and never done anything. How do you fix that? Well, easy. You have to start at some point learning to work together, right? And like Dave Roy just mentioned to me on the phone, like the movie Bees, if any of you have children, the Bee movie, he talks about how management's like brutal on the employees. And he's like, hey, there's way more of us than there are of them. That's true in absolutely every working scenario out there. The union members outnumber management in every situation. So if we learn to work as a cohesive unit and we stick together, we fight together, we can't be stopped. And that's as really as simple as it gets. I'll be back after this interview with some updates across the Teamsters. some giveaways first on the biweekly grievance, and a wrap up of this interview. So I hope you enjoy this interview, and please focus on what they're saying, especially the coaches, Coach Matt and Coach Jared. If you listen to it in a perspective of how we work as a union, you'll get what I'm getting at. I'll see you after this episode.
That you must take. You gotta have that mindset that quitting is not an option. Give up? Who, me? Never. Stop? Who, me? Never. That's for the next guy. That's for the next girl. But not me. Why? Because I don't quit. That ain't how I do it. That ain't how I roll. I never give up. You must understand that there will come a time in your life that circumstances are going to challenge you no matter what you do. But you must never give up.
Don't let the obstacles discourage you and make you believe that it's not meant to be. Pursue when it's hard. Pursue even when it would make more sense to give up.
Not you, champ. You ain't the one. Not you, kid. You ain't the one to quit. Giving up is not what you do. You got the wrong one here, baby. Until you believe that, until you feel that, until you live that. We got work to do. You see, quitting is a mindset. Quitting is a...
Hey, brothers and sisters, welcome to the next episode of the Biweekly Grievance. Today we have a fun episode ahead of us. We have the East Long Meadow Spartan Pee Wee football team, fresh off their play at the Pee Wee Super Bowl in East Long Meadow. Welcome to the show. Coach Matt, you did a phenomenal job with the boys this year. I saw all of them growing and as people. Talk a little bit about August 1st when the boys showed up on the field and what that looked like on day one.
Well, for me, it was a little bit of a different environment. I had been coaching youth football, and I had just gotten off coaching the 7th and 8th grade team for a few years. And I was coming back as my son was starting in 3rd grade to see the difference in the ages from 3rd grade up to 8th grade was quite dramatic. It was, I didn't know what to expect from the kids, but quickly what I determined, along with the rest of my coaches, is that we need to set the expectation high, because if we set it any lower, then that's all they're going to attain. So that is one thing that I was the most proud of over the course of the year from August 1st all the way through, is that having that such a high expectation, it allowed the kids to surprise us. I wasn't sure if we were going to reach those lofty expectations on August 1st when we started practicing. Kids just figuring out how to get their feet underneath them. Not exactly sure of where they fit on a football field. We started off just letting kids go and choose their own positions and try and figuring it out. Going over some conditioning. It's a little bit warmer August 1st than it was finishing up the year in the Super Bowl. So getting kids that have been sitting on their computers and video games all summer to then come out and start playing was an eye opener for, I'm sure, for quite a few. We didn't have many returning players. We had a few. And certainly it was an entirely new system that they were going to get introduced to. So that was the biggest thing, of just getting them right in, having that high expectation, and bringing them along as quickly as possible.
Now, I can testament to that fact that I know the first few weeks, James, you I know at some points during August was thinking about quitting because it was all work, no play, right? And then you got into playing season and it all changed for you, right?
Yeah.
Definitely. So, Coach, once game season rolled around, the boys are a little more into it. They've been working out for a month now. How was that first game? Like, how was that? Did the boys get it right away, or did they stumble a little bit and then they found their way through the season?
So our first game was against, Chicopee, and they weren't necessarily the strongest of teams that we were facing. So it was a good way to introduce them, although in some ways it was bad. Not having a really difficult challenge faced in front of you to start can help you in learning process, but it also can set a bad precedent almost into thinking that that's where it's going to be. That's the level that you're going to have to face. So we ran our first 3 plays against Chicopee. We ran 3 straight touchdowns. Those are first three offensive plays. And it certainly wasn't going to be that easy all year. And so that was the main thing after that game, that we had to let the kids know that that wasn't going to be the case, which I think that they learned that quickly the second game of the year when we faced Westfield, which we struggled to get anything going. And that loss helped us, though, because it showed them where we need to get to in order to be successful at the end of the season. That progressed over the course of the season. So we won our next game, and then we faced Longmeadow. And Longmeadow had a good team. When we played them, I thought we had a better team. But I'm not sure if all the kids necessarily bought in to exactly what we were saying. So we would say the same thing over and over again, repetition. And that's going back to that August where it was kind of boring because they're doing the same exact things over and over again. And we're just stressing that the more that you do it, the more you'll be comfortable doing it, and that it's just second nature, that you can then go out and succeed by doing those things over and over again in practice, that you can rely on the person next to you to then succeed together. We had a lot of individuals that maybe thought that, I can go out and win this, or if I'm not necessarily as important as the next person, but it really took that Longmeadow game to really cement what we had been telling them, that it is 11 people out there at a time, and to be able to rely on that person next to you to do the job is critical. Because if that one person doesn't on that one play, we lose as a team. We don't win, we lose. So we always win as a group, we lose as a group, and trying to instill that in them from day one was the most important thing.
And Coach Jared, if you could, so as matches finished up with game 3, you can see that momentum shift after game 3 for you guys. You guys really started to pick up steam, and you actually shot out quite a few teams in the second half of the season. Jared, what was your perspective of the boys and the way the season progressed, especially after you got past that second loss?
Yeah, I mean, in agreement with Coach Maurer, their development over the season was, significant. It was, really a learning process. A lot of kids, it was their first time ever putting on pads. Certainly for my son, it was his first time, and there's a testament to Coach Maurer's, discipline and his game plan and the dedication and time he put in. He set expectations early. He set the bar high. He gave us an outline for each practice in terms of like what, each practice, the breakdown of different, drills. And, the boys really, again, they took to that. They took to that regimen. And by mid-season, it clicked. It all clicked at once, because at this age, you got to start with the fundamentals, the basics. We were really focusing on things like, on the line, how to get in a stance, 3-point stance, and how to, where to, place your feet and balance and just, footing and, timing is really important and essential. So it's just the fundamentals. It was literally like, baby steps. And, by mid-season, the boys, really did learn that, if everybody does, their job and follows the instructions of the coaches, then, they see the results. The line came together and, they were firing off, they were blocking, the handoffs were quicker and sharper. We were getting the plays, we were getting the ball into, Isaiah and Joe Mar's hands. And, they were scoring, and, on defense, they were a team. It was a real, real all for one for all mentality. They each knew their role, and they were aggressive. They showed, a lot of heart throughout the course of the season, and that just carried through the playoffs and into the Super Bowl. And, Unfortunately, we came up against a team that just had a lot more talent, a lot more size. A program that was has a bigger city and more players to draw from, and so the outcome was a little lopsided. But it's just amazing how much dedication that the entire coaching staff, grades 3 through 12. It's just amazing, the dedication and the effort that they put in, and I see nothing but great things going forward.
So Carter, if you could, in your own words, tell me how you felt the season went, and really I want you to focus more on the end of the season when you guys made it to the playoffs and you were the second seed. Tell me how you felt, the confidence, the excitement that you guys felt as teammates. What was that like for you, bud?
It was a pretty confident team, and we all were just thinking we could actually go really far. And then once we came in the Super Bowl, maybe just the courage wasn't the best, and we may have just let down.
And so Nick, our all-star quarterback, what was the season like for you, bud? I mean, I know in the beginning you struggled a little bit, but your confidence came a long way during the season, and you started playing your heart out, and you were doing really well. What was that like for you in that transformation throughout the season? Were you nervous going into the season being the quarterback?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, and did you feel like you finally got your footing after a couple of games and you started playing with a little more confidence?
Yeah. I started to learn to throw a little better, so I think that helped us a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I could get quicker handoff.
And how excited were you to make the playoffs at the end of the season and go up against Longmeadow again?
I'm really excited because I want to see if we could beat the team that we lost to by 1 point.
So you had lost to them during the season, and then a little bit of adversity, and now you got to play them again to make it up to the Super Bowl. That had to have been nerve-wracking, but you guys pulled it together, right?
Yeah.
Overcame that. James, how about you? How was your season and the way it changed, and then how you got into the playoffs and overcame a team that had beaten you earlier in the season? What was that like for you?
So it was really about the whole team. It was once we lost to Longmeadow, and at practice after practice we got better and better. And then when we came against Longmeadow, I could see as a lineman that all our line could push person in front of us and could always say in their head, I'm stronger than the person in front of me, and I can push them back into the backfield and get our team points. And I could see that the whole season. But when we came to the Super Bowl, I knew we were going to go against a hard team. But that team was undefeated the whole season. They were 10-0. And they were just all together really good.
So back to you, Coach Matt. So we make it 6-2 in the season. We draw the number 2 seed for the playoffs. We get a first round bye. Now, our first game is against Longmeadow. And as you had pointed out, you appeared as if we were a better team in the first game, but we just didn't pull it together. But how was it going into that team against the team that we lost? What did you tell the boys about overcoming that loss from the regular season so that they could move on to the Super Bowl?
One of the main things that I wanted to preach over the course of the season was every single play, every single day, you're getting better and better every single time you do something, you're improving. So to focus on that as opposed to who you're playing, who's across from you, what size they are, how fast they are. If you just focus on yourself getting better, you're going to help the person next to you get better. And then that helps us grow as a team. Mm-hmm. So we had first game we played Longmeadow, they had one really fast kid that broke away from a couple of us because we didn't necessarily have the appropriate direction on defense. We kind of tried to take an easier route as opposed to fighting through and keeping our discipline as to where we wanted to hold them. The second game we played them, we set the tone of the game on defense. The very first play, they ran the same play that they scored multiple touchdowns on in the first game, and they had a loss of 10 yards because they ran into our guys that knew exactly what they did. We had the edge covered, and they turned inside, and we had the middle covered. So because of that, it showed, okay, I might not have been the person that made the tackle, but I was a major component of how we succeeded on that play. And that continued over the course of the game. So just showing that every single aspect of the game is impacted by each individual performance that grows into the sum of the entire team succeeding. So I think that was the main thing, and that's the tone setter was our defense. Being able to hold those teams over the course of the season to 0, that was the expectation. If you hold them to 0, our offense is going to be able to get it together to score some points. Mm-hmm. So you're not going to be able to hold everybody to 0, but if that's your goal, you're going to you're going to get the job done more than not.
So throughout the season, I noticed that you had made several changes, moving players around, fitting people in, and it made the team stronger. How is that process for the boys? Like, how do you explain to them that people are being moved around for the betterment of the team?
So going back to August, it was that first couple of weeks, I let the kids go out and play where they thought they could play, where they wanted to play, and just my own, I had no awareness as to each individual talent. A lot of the players I had never been around. I had coached some of them in other sports, but I wasn't aware of exactly their athletic ability. So just being able to observe and see where they wanted to do, it's a huge component, because if they aren't where they want to be, they might not give you the maximum effort. Mm-hmm. After a couple of games, you can kind of, we identified certain players that, were going to be stronger in different areas, and we had to move them. And that was one of the critical things from the Longmeadow game. We had some players that need to see things more. So they need to take a step back and they can read a larger area, as opposed to other people that are going to go on a straight line to be able to make plays, that they're going to follow direction. And they're going to do exactly what you're asking. James is a big component of that. So James, we had originally on JV line, and he showed through his hard work and paying attention to the effort that was required to be able to see the difference in the speed of the game from the JV game to the varsity game, that he was able to step up and was a critical component of our left tackle spot. So, I mean, it's just really as you get to know the players more, as they develop, as they see what it takes, and you see who might be able to be pushed in one way or the other, and you see how they respond. And that was the goal, that by the end of the season, you might not be showing everything in your hand when you play those teams the very first time. But by the end of the season, you know exactly where you want players. You know exactly who's going to be able to do what, and they're going to be comfortable because they've gone through it so many times.
So now, just to wrap up a little bit, we're playing in the Super Bowl. We're playing a team that's undefeated. They're 9-0 going into the Super Bowl. They're a tough team. Boys played their heart out. They were able to obtain a safety. They intercepted the ball. They fought all the way to the end. Still a tough loss for the boys. What was your message to the boys after the game on the Super Bowl and moving forward?
So my message was how proud I was of their growth from that August 1st day to now. They strove to get better each and every day, but sometimes you face challenges that might be bigger than you on that given day. So seeing that isn't a bad thing, but taking that and growing from that is what shows how you can grow as a person and as a player. If you see something, you now know where you need to get to to get to that next level. You want to succeed next year. When we get to that same point, you know where you need to be, where we need to be as a group, where we need to be as a team, where you need to be as a player. So if you take that, internalize that, work at that, and get better, you now have a new goal that you can reach.
Well, I just want to say hats off to the coaches. I know as a parent of the team, I wasn't a coach, but watching the growth of James, and I'm sure the other parents saw the same thing, the maturity level, the dedication to going. There's a couple of times in August he fought us going to practice. He didn't want to go. He was thinking about quitting. It was too much work. But that mentality, it grew. The coaches instilled stuff into him that he became very dedicated. He didn't, he was always like, hurry up, Dad, we're going to be late to practice. So it was a great thing to see the maturity level over the season. So hats off to you coaches. You players, you guys did a phenomenal job. Anyone that looks at your season, even if they didn't see the games, they can see how the games went. You had your first couple of losses in the beginning of the season. Then you shut out a few teams. And then to overcome a loss from a previous season, a previous game, to make it to the Super Bowl. You guys played your hearts out. Congratulations to all of you guys, and I wish you best of luck in your James. And I think all of the boys here are going on to play basketball. Matter of fact, James is going to be playing for Jared. So we'll see each other around, and football season will be here before we know it again. I want to thank each and every one of you for stopping by the Biweekly Grievance. And we'll talk to you guys soon.
All right. Thanks, Mr. Allen. Thanks, Coach.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, brothers and sisters, I hope you enjoyed that interview. It was just kind of a fun episode to do. They are a great example of being in a union. Anybody that knows the process of being in a union will testify that being in a union is a lot like being on a team. You learn to work together cohesively. You have your leaders, you have your followers, you have everybody in between. Everyone has a different role. Every role is important. And what I mean by that is, like, you don't need to be a rah-rah union employee that says, the frontline person. But, like, at the gate, when somebody's talking to members as they're coming in, even just being there as a member, handing out flyers, helping out if it's an event, maybe you help set up and give out the dessert table. There is many roles, but the more people get involved, the less work it requires by each individual person. It also shows management that people are engaged and that they're working together. And when you're working in numbers, there really is protection in numbers. So I encourage people, if you have a local that you feel like it doesn't do a lot, or there's a lot of apathy, or whatever your situation is, these 3rd and 4th graders, 8, 9 years old, are a prime example of how you could turn your local around in technically 90 days. It takes longer than that. But if every person chose to step in and work together, you could turn a local around in as little as 90 days, filing group grievances, standing behind each other. I'm not saying you got to go to war with management, but letting management know that you have your union brothers and sisters' backs, not allowing management to harass particular individuals, because there's so many people involved. They can't attack everybody at once. There's way more of us than there are of them. So I hope that this rang true for some people, and you had maybe a little aha moment of, if I just put a little effort into being a part of my union, how much stronger we would be as a unit. What I do isn't for everybody. I get that. Nor am I asking everybody to do that. But standing by each other against management and their tactics, especially like companies like UPS, is absolutely the way to success and to deal with a lot less baloney from management. I just want to invite everybody to check out some pages. I hope that you'll like, share, and subscribe this channel on YouTube to people. It makes it easier for me to get my show out to people rather than having to post it on a ton of different sites. To get enough followers, I can stop doing that. Check out the Biweekly Grievance Show page on Facebook. I post a lot of stuff there. Local 404 members, there's a page for our local that I set up. I didn't set up, I inherited. and recently changed the name. It's now UPS Crew Local 404 Facebook page. I also recently started a page that's hopefully going to blow up, and I think it's going to be a great thing. It's an activist page for UPS Activist Resources page. It's a page where I'm hoping people will contribute flyers that they've done at their gates so that other members can use those flyers at their gates rather than reinventing the wheel in every state and every local. That way it makes it a little easier to do these things. UPS Teamster app is still a thing. The contract is been ratified, but there's still a lot of good tools and resources on that page. So make sure you download the UPS Teamster app. Teamster Media Hub is a great resource for finding shows like mine, like the Roswell Hub, edited and polished, or even your live and raw shows. There's many shows on there. Speaking of live and raw, I am looking into doing periodic live shows on the Biweekly Grievance in a roundtable format, centered around some particular issues that we would like to air out and talk about. So look forward to some live episodes on the Biweekly Grievance. I will post that many weeks in advance so that people can plan to be here. Lastly, I'd just like to close with a plea for the holiday season. Amazon employees in California have been on strike now for 5 months. They're the first Teamster Amazon contract. They've been on strike for 5 months. They've extended their picket line to 6 different states and over 25 facilities, and they need our support. Most of these individuals were part-time employees. They've been on strike for 5 months. It does take a toll on people with the holidays coming. So I'm hoping everybody can dig a little deep and make some contributions. I'm willing to do my part. I will personally match the first $500 donated by my subscribers, verified subscribers. Email the show with your verified subscription and your donation, and I will match it up to the first 500 donated. Also, the first 10 people that donate $20 or more to this cause, which I will post a link and a QR code for you. First 10 people that donate $20 or more, I will personally mail you a copy of my friend Dave Roy's book, SDN, The Upside Down World of UPS, autographed by the author, my friend Dave Roy. So a little giveaway. Hopefully that'll entice some people to give some money to these men and women who are standing solid against Amazon. I hope people contribute, whether it's $5, $10, $20, get a free book or more. It's a worthwhile cause. An injury to one is an injury to all. Let's stand behind these brothers and sisters. They are new to the Teamster organization, and they deserve our support. Brothers and sisters, I hope you had a great Thanksgiving weekend with your families. I hope that you stay safe during this holiday season. I know a lot of people have been making a wave in the media about our trucks at UPS and post office. Porch Pirates have now moved on to actually taking stuff right off the trucks. It's not worth it. Let them have it. Call the cops afterwards. Let them do their job. It's not worth your safety over a few packages. Stand strong. I stand in solidarity with each and every one of you. Thank you for stopping by the Biweekly Grievance. We'll see you soon.